Hey, so today let's talk about adrenal fatigue. It's quite a real thing. Rob here, Root Pharmacist, and thanks for joining again and again. But what I want to talk to you about is something that is quite pervasive. It is affecting people of every walk of life, all over the world, mostly industrialized nations. And a lot of doctors really aren't testing for it. And it's still, after all this teaching's been done on adrenal fatigue over the last 20 years, and it's a very real thing, there's a lot of published papers on it, it's still not really being adequately addressed large scale. We find it more in functional medicine, but not so much in conventional medicine, I guess you could say. So what is it? So think about, we got our adrenal glands, right? Our adrenal glands are these little glands that rest upon our kidneys. Now, their job is designed to get us out of areas of fight or flight. Now, I'm not going to get too much into how they're built and all the different parts of them, but just for matters of this explanation, they put out a number of different hormones, things like cortisol and DHEA. Now, they also put out adrenaline, like norepinephrine, right? But on a given day, let's just talk about the cortisol here, because I'm sure you've heard about cortisol, and you probably hear about how if your cortisol's too high, it can lead to like weight gain and things like that, fat around the belly and stuff like that. So generally, when we wake up in the morning, we should have generally a good, healthy, high cortisol level. And then as the day goes on, it should just kind of gradually get down there till bedtime and then put us to sleep. Then, next day, we start queuing in about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, we start seeing a rise, helps us get out of bed. That is a nice, natural process of cortisol. When people endure a lot of stress, okay, and stress can come from many forms. Stress actually doesn't have to be bad events that happen to our life. Stress is change. Things that change in your world is a stressor. It could be challenges, right? Working hard on certain projects. That could be a stress. And stress can be of physical, it could be of emotional, it could be chemical, mental. We are designed, stress can be predestined, meaning it's very difficult to change it. For instance, you don't like where you're living and you recognize it every day. You don't like your house, but you can't move, or whatever it is, something that's holding you there. That itself imparts itself as a stressor. So if you think about, over time, people just get beaten down, really. We are designed for short-term acute levels of stress. They come upon us, but then we get times of, it's the proverbial, foraging through the Serengeti. You're a hunter-gatherer. You're looking for the nuts and the seeds and all that stuff. Maybe some meat. Then a tiger starts running after you. You use that stress to get away, but then you have periods of rest and relaxation. That's how we're designed, and we should impart that in our given day. We should impart that with what's called ultradian rhythm. So we need to honor that, right? But what happens is when stress becomes chronic and it beats us down over time and time and time, we become a different person. This is what goes into adrenal fatigue. Remember how I said cortisol like that? We either start having low in the morning, rising at nighttime, or it even can be a flat line. And that's not healthy. That can actually lead to inflammation. That can lead to immune suppression, issues of cancer, a lot of different things. So we want to recognize this. So, what are some questions? Do you not feel like you used to feel? Do you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning? Is it like you're peeling yourself out of bed? Are you dull? You know what I mean? Do you just not have the vitality or the feeling of life? Has things just gone blah? You can have them tested. One way is you can do a salivary test, cortisol. But I think what's most important, because, I'll go back to that. What's nice about the cortisol, you can do a salivary test throughout the day in the comfort of your own home, so you can track your cortisol 4 points to see how it's going. That would be opposed to a blood test that you would go to your standard doctor and just have an 8 a.m. blood draw. I think symptomatic questionnaires are one of the greatest things in the world. You can download a life stress inventory to see how many stressors happened to you within the last year that can impact you, but then also do a questionnaire. So, because what's interesting about the body will keep us alive to keep us out of danger, okay? And it's going to do that. It's going to steal from other hormones and other areas to keep cortisol alive. And it's going to pump up enough adrenaline to keep us going, where even a lab test, a salivary lab test, might show that we're okay, but we might be on the verge of having the bottom drop out, basically. All right, so let me just give you 6 quick tips on what you can do to reinflate those adrenals. First and foremost, you got to honor your energy patterns. Get to bed early. If you're tired, get to bed by 10 o'clock. look for a 7 to 8 hour night's sleep. You need that. You owe that to yourself. Get the proper rest. Before you get out of bed in the morning, and I mean this, put yourself in a positive mindset. All right, think of something positive, something good that you plan to happen for the day. Maybe someone you're going to talk to, something you want to accomplish. It could be simple, it does not have to be a big deal. Getting yourself to the gym, whatever, but just put yourself in a positive mindset before you put your feet on the ground. Another one, salt. If you want salt, if you crave salt, enjoy good salt. This should be like pink Himalayan salt. A lot of times people do a half to a teaspoon in water and drink that because these are the micronutrients that the body needs. Speaking of nutrients, let's consider nutrition. You want to do the magnesium. I'm a big fan of magnesium glycinate. You're going to get better absorption to it, and it provides a relaxation effect to your vessels. Even with stress, even if you're exhausted, you might have trouble sleeping. Magnesium glycinate might help for that. You want the B complex, B vitamins to feed those adrenals. You want that twice a day because it's water soluble. Vitamin C, twice a day or an extended release. Once again, feeds those adrenals. We're looking at probably 2,000 milligrams, a good average dose a day. I'd like you to consider an adaptogen. Adaptogen would be something like, and you can find a product that has all of this in it. Adaptogen would be like ginseng, ashwagandha, rhodiola. These are all great, maca, all great adaptogens that would pretty much allow our adrenals to kick back while we rebuild them with the nutrients we were talking about. I'm a big fan of glandulars. Glandulars, you're basically providing a glandular from an animal to the body, and the body recognizes that, and you're actually given these little micro levels, because the glandulars, they create the cortisol, the epinephrine, and all that stuff. Plus, the body recognizes the protein in it, and that's how you help repair your adrenals. In addition to that, we want to shift our gears throughout the day. I kind of talked about these rhythms, so we want to honor these. We don't want to go, 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 go. We want to go, go, but then we want, maybe work hard for about an hour, but then we want to give ourselves a little break. Within that, consider taking a rest or a nap in the afternoon. It's okay to lay down and take a 20-minute nap. I caution not to go farther than that or longer, because that's when the body starts to kind of elicit these sleep-inducing hormones, and we don't want to feel that fogginess, the grogginess. Lastly, we got to look at the other hormones, because our hormones are a symphony and they work together. So what would be very advantageous is to have your thyroid checked out, because if you're overstressed, basically you can be pulling that off. You want to have, if you're a female, certainly your progesterone checked. There's the progesterone and pregnenolone steal, and pregnenolone might serve a benefit too. You can get that in a supplement. But basically what the body does, if it's kind of trying to keep itself alive by creating cortisol or finding it from another source, it's going to steal from pregnenolone. It's going to steal from progesterone. This can lead to hot flashes, could lead to a little depression, a lower mood, low energy, just a lack of well-being. Wouldn't be a bad idea to get the estrogens, E1, E2, and E3 if you're female, at least the estradiol if you're a male, as well as DHEA and testosterone for both sexes. Lastly, yes, hydrocortisone can be used, certainly in cases of adrenal fatigue. You're basically giving your body some of that cortisol. Dosage of 5 milligrams, a good average dose, 2.5 to 10 basically is the window. And you can dose these things along with the glandulars as well when you get these lower drop times of the day, because you'll have these patterns, and this is how we can balance off these patterns. So anyway, I hope this gave you some good insight on what adrenal fatigue is. Maybe you have it, maybe you don't. It's a good thing to be aware of and keep an eye on. And Rob Kress here, Root Pharmacist. Keep in touch, subscribe for Healthy Vibes, and we'll talk soon.